Can you explain first what you do here and what are your relations with agroforestry in Czech Republic and in other countries?
Okay. Here at the University of Life Sciences, Czech University of Life Sciences, I'm teaching agroforestry. So I traveled to the tropics and I have seen that agroforestry, most of the agricultural system actually in tropics are actually agroforestry. And agroforestry is about trees and is about how farmers employ trees into the agricultural system and what are the benefits of employing trees to the system. So mainly we work in Latin America, but then also in Southeast Asia, in Asia. And then throughout the time, I think I and with my colleague, we realized that agroforestry could be probably also quite good an alternative system, not only in tropics, but also in temperate countries as Europe. And we forget, our agriculture forget to use trees as a tool to mitigate some problems that are connected with agriculture. Agroforestry system were some of the traditional agricultural system were a kind of agroforestry, and agroforestry is just a new name for those practices. But because of the intensification of agriculture, not only in Czech Republic, in whole Europe, most agroforestry system disappeared. So farmers not anymore are using the trees on their fields. Probably through the history, the trees finally become an obstacle for the farmers, for mechanization, for increasing yield of monocultures. The trees were an obstacle, mainly. And there is a big gap between agriculture and, let's say, forestry. I don't want to say that agroforestry is about forestry, because it's about that farmers are growing trees and they have different outputs from the trees, and it's not only wood. And usually it doesn't fit very much together. Or the farmers usually don't use them together. Yeah, there is horticulture and fruit trees, but they are mainly grown also as monocultures. There are some remnants of some agroforestry system, traditional agroforestry system in the mountain part, in the less favored area where agriculture is not very, it's difficult to do. So people are still using trees for some products or for erosion structures, or they use some, for example, fruit trees, and inside the fruit trees they use it as a pastures for animals, but usually on a small scale. It's a history of a few hundred years that happened that. But it was, of course, intensified in Czech Republic after the Second World War, during the intensification of agriculture. And during communist era, the collectivization of the land and merging the fields together and so on. If I compare, for example, the pictures from 100 years ago, 60 years ago, usually there were lots of trees in the landscape on the fields, but now they disappeared, or hedges and so on, some tree structures. But I think psychologically the people like the trees and they need to live with the trees. And before there were no trees inside the village. But if you go now to any Czech village, the fields are empty, but all the trees are inside the village, you know? So from my point of view, the people like the trees and they need them for not only their survival, but for aesthetical thing. So they move all the trees inside the village. In Czech Republic, we have lots of forest. So if you really want to look for a tree, you go to a forest. And usually it's not really far away from where you live. So as our country has 30% of the land area is covered with the forest. From our point of view as agroforestry, it's difficult to say, well, plant the trees on your fields. I think we have something like 3 million owners of agricultural land, which is a huge amount if you are 10 million. However, most of the owners doesn't work the land, so they don't cultivate anything on that land. So they rent the land. Most of the land, as much as 70%, is cultivated by big companies, and probably 30% by small let's say small, and what is small, but by family farms. Yeah. So there are two different approaches. Yeah, the big companies, from my point of view, they have more short-term interest to make better yields and make, let's say, more money out of agriculture. Then the family farms, they have probably more long-term objectives to keep their farm and to give it to their children and so on. First, on the European level, I think it's starting to be well recognized that agroforestry exists. In the Common Agriculture Policy, agroforestry is also defined. And even in 2014, the EURAF was lobbying that agroforestry was put in the first, mainly second pillar of Common Agriculture Policy, that it should be supported, establishment of agroforestry system. But then it is on each member state if they implement this legislation. And unfortunately, not many states that did that, and not Czech Republic. So in the Czech legislation, agroforestry is not known. We established a few years ago an agroforestry association. We are a member of EURA, which is European Agroforestry Association, and most of our members are from universities, research organizations, but also starting to be a farmer. We try to promote agroforestry here in this country, and we try also to do lobbying that agroforestry really exists, and it can be on the level of ministries, it can be taken as a serious system. That could be also a viable option here in the temperate regions. So we develop our official Czech definition, what is agroforestry. We produce some paper how we can classify agroforestry, what belongs to agroforestry and what not. And now we are trying if it could be somehow implemented in some policy programs, some strategies. For now, big issue in Czech Republic is erosion control. Water is a big issue now in Czech Republic, losing of the water. And here, trees can help, and agroforestry for sure. Our main partner at this moment for promoting agroforestry are, of course, family farms, because probably they, that the trees grow for quite a while, and so they can employ that, and they see it for the future of their farm, for the development, for the cultural reasons to employ agroforestry. I don't know if in the near future we can also reach big farms and they have to be interested in that because it will be also profitable, and probably from the point of view that they will diversify. But because we don't have too much experience of really what works and how it works and how is it economically viable, I think we have to start from small, and we are starting mainly with family farms, and which family farm in Czech Republic is still 150 hectares. Yeah, so it's not a really small farm. At the universities, yes, we have two main agriculture universities here in Prague and another in Brno. So there are courses about agroforestry. To my knowledge, in high school, not. And this is also our objective, probably to do some seminars or workshops or presentation even for kids on the high school. Yeah, it should be for sure the next step, and we are submitting, for example, now several projects to be able to do that. Yeah. It's of course it's a good idea. The advisory service in Czech Republic somehow works, and there are advisors, official advisors from that are certified from Ministry of Agriculture. However, it's more like focus oriented. So there is an advisor if you want for milking cows, or there is an advisor that is more focused on the growing of maize. The extension is also mainly done for farmers through the companies, that they produce seeds, they produce fertilizers, they produce herbicides, and so on. So they want to promote their products, so they give seminars to the farmers. I think we can, for example, agroforestry promote to the Farmers Association, and this is our focus. And that's why, and there is a association of private farms, they are very interested in doing a course in agroforestry, those association of private farmers. So we have to find a partner, because we are teachers and scientists, and we need a partner to transfer this knowledge to the farmers. And the partners could be association. It could be now in 2 weeks' time I will have a presentation for. There is a course of permaculture for the farmers, so I will have a presentation about agroforestry. So through these probably more informal links than formal, I think we can promote that. I was always thinking what was my favorite tree, and if I take the forest tree, I think I would say oak. Yeah, it's so huge and majestic and nice tree. If I look at the tree that I really like is apple. Yeah, not just because I have the computer. However, I think apple is so diverse. It can be so great fruit. It can be used for lots of products, and it can be very well used in agroforestry. I have my garden with lots of apples, and I have a sheep there, so it's great. And I did even a small exercise with the students here, and they were a mix of international students, and always apple was on the first place. So the Czech name for earthworm is zizala.
Okay.
So you would be called zizala. And it's quite nice, it's cute. The animal isn't so cute, but if someone calls you zizala, it means that you are slim and you are tall, that you fit, and it's quite cute name. So it's not so far from the reality.